Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're taking a closer look at US $quarter coins, from the classic Washington design to special editions like the State, Territory, and America the Beautiful series. These coins may seem common, but some hold rare dates, minting errors, and silver content that can make them highly valuable. Let's explore the history, varieties, and hidden gems that make $quarter a favorite among collectors. The 1974 Washington quarter in circulated condition might not catch your eye at first glance. It may look like just another piece of change that's passed through thousands of hands over the decades. The edges are smooth, the design slightly faded, and the shine long gone, but don't be too quick to dismiss it. This coin holds secrets that could turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. In fact, under the right circumstances, this little piece of American currency could be worth far more than anyone might guess. Let's begin with some history. The 1974 Washington quarter was struck just 1 year before the nation's bicentennial celebration in 1976. At the time, the U.S. Mint was producing quarters in large numbers to keep up with economic demand. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mark on the front of the coin just next to Washington's ponytail, produced over 350 million quarters that year. That high mintage would normally make the 1974 quarter seem common, but among those hundreds of millions, some unusual examples slipped through the cracks. First, it's important to understand the metal makeup. By 1974, the U.S. Mint had already moved away from silver in circulating quarters. These coins were struck from a copper-nickel-clad composition, which means they have very little intrinsic metal value. But what gives them potential worth is rarity, condition, and minting errors. And the 1974 quarter has been found with all three of those value-boosting elements. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1974 quarter is the rare off-metal strike. A very small number of 1974 quarters were mistakenly struck on 40%. Silver plankets left over from earlier years, or on foreign coin blanks. These errors are extremely rare, but when they do appear, they can command thousands of dollars. One verified example of a 1974 quarter struck on a silver planchet sold for over $5,000 at auction. Even more exciting are double die errors. A few 1974 quarters have been found with doubling on the motto "In God We Trust," or in the word liberty. These errors occur during the minting process when the die strikes the coin more than once in slightly different positions. If you look closely at these letters and notice a faint shadow or duplication, you might be looking at a coin worth hundreds of dollars even in circulated condition. Now let's talk about condition. The coin in question is circulated, meaning it has seen regular use. It's not in mint state, but that doesn't necessarily rule out value. Certain errors and varieties remain valuable even with wear. Collectors understand that some coins simply never made it into collections early on, and a rare error is still rare, no matter how much pocket time it has seen. Another area to inspect is the rim and edge. Some 1974 quarters have shown signs of clipped plankets where a portion of the coin was mistakenly cut off before being struck. Others have broad strikes or misaligned dies that lead to dramatic off-center designs. Any of these types of errors can drive up the price, with extreme examples selling for hundreds or even thousands depending on their visibility and uniqueness. There's also growing interest in coins with environmental toning or unique discoloration. While damage from corrosion or chemicals typically lowers value, natural toning from long-term storage can sometimes increase interest among collectors. If your 1974 quarter has a rich, rainbow-like surface or a smooth patina that gives it a vintage look, it might catch the eye of a collector who values aesthetic appeal as much as condition. Let's not forget the human element. Many coin collectors today, especially those in the 50 to 75 age range, remember using quarters like this one daily. It's not just a coin, it's a link to memories of gas stations that took quarters for a gallon of gas, payphones, jukeboxes, and vending machines. There's nostalgia attached to these coins, and that emotional connection adds another layer of value in the collector's world. So while this 1974 Washington quarter may seem ordinary, it holds possibilities that most people overlook, whether it's a rare strike error, a transitional planchet, or a double die that's gone unnoticed for nearly 50 years. The potential for surprise is always there. And when you find a coin that turns out to be something special, that's not just exciting, it's unforgettable. And if you thought this quarter had potential, wait until you see the next coin. It's one of the most surprising finds from a decade of economic change and minting experimentation. In fact, one version of it recently sold for an amount that left even veteran collectors in disbelief. Stick around, because what's coming up next might just rewrite everything you thought you knew about modern coins. Next up we have the 1984 Washington quarter in circulated condition, marked by small holes, may not look like much at first. It's worn, aged, and clearly has lived a long life in the hands and pockets of many. But sometimes the most overlooked coins are the ones hiding the biggest surprises. This particular quarter, minted at the Denver Mint in 1984, has far more to offer than its face value suggests. It's a piece of everyday American history that just might contain something collectors search for their whole lives. The 1984 quarter came out during a decade of rapid change. Inflation was high, technology was evolving, and coinage was being used more heavily than ever. This was a workhorse coin, and the Denver Mint produced over 500 million of them that year. A number like that makes it sound common, and in many ways it is. But in the world of coin collecting, the devil is always in the details, and that's where this coin starts to get interesting. One of the most talked about features of the 1984 Washington quarter is the possibility of minting errors. While the majority of these quarters were struck on standard copper-nickel-clad plankets, some have surfaced with dramatic issues that make them incredibly rare and valuable. A few quarters from 1984 were struck off-center, meaning the die didn't line up correctly and part of the design is missing. These errors range in severity from slight shifts to wildly off-center strikes, and depending on how much of the design is affected, they can fetch anywhere from $100 to several $1,000s. There have also been discoveries of 1984 quarters with broad strikes. A broad strike occurs when the retaining collar is missing during the minting process, allowing the metal to expand outward unnaturally. These errors are unmistakable and very collectible, especially when the date and mint mark are still fully visible. A circulated broad strike 1984 quarter has been known to sell for several $100s simply because of the unique look and rarity. But one of the most valuable and dramatic finds tied to the 1984 Washington quarter is the discovery of coins struck on the wrong planchet. Some rare specimens were minted on plankets intended for foreign coins or even other US denominations. These coins weigh less or more than a normal quarter and look just a bit different in size or color. One example of a 1984 quarter struck on a dime planchet sold for over $1,500 at auction due to its rarity and condition. Now let's talk about this specific coin's condition. It's circulated with visible wear, and it has small holes, perhaps from someone using it for jewelry or as part of a keychain or pendant. Normally, damage like that reduces a coin's value dramatically, especially for coins that don't have any known errors or rare variations. But here's where it gets intriguing. In some cases, coins with unusual post-mint modifications or historical significance tied to those marks can still attract collector interest. If those small holes were added during a time of war or linked to a specific event or organization, they might raise curiosity. Some people used to drill holes in coins and wear them for good luck or to remember a loved one. While not valuable in the traditional sense, those kinds of alterations can make a coin a one-of-a-kind historical artifact. Even in a damaged state, if the coin contains a known minting error or planchet mistake, its value might still climb far beyond expectations. Another reason collectors keep an eye on 1980 for D quarters is because of subtle double die errors that have been reported, though not widely cataloged. If a quarter from that year shows doubling in the word liberty or the date, especially under magnification, it could be worth hundreds depending on clarity and overall condition, and well-circulated coins like this one usually fall on the lower end of the value scale. They're also the ones most likely to have gone unnoticed all these years. Who knows how many error coins slipped through quality control in 1980 and were spent without a second thought. One could be sitting in a coin jar, a drawer, or a pocket right now, waiting for someone to notice the fine detail that changes everything. So, even though this coin has seen better days, and even though those small holes might suggest it's damaged beyond hope, it still holds potential. Sometimes, it's not the shine or the condition that determines a coin's worth. Sometimes it's the story, the error, or the rare accident during minting that makes all the difference. This 1980 for D quarter could be more than what it seems, especially if it carries one of those hidden secrets. And as we move forward, the next coin in our journey comes from a year that took collectors by surprise with one of the rarest quarter errors ever discovered. You'll want to keep watching, because what's coming next might just change the way you see your change forever. Next up we have the 1987 D Washington quarter dollar in good condition is one of those coins that may seem ordinary at first glance, but it carries more intrigue than you might expect. Minted during a year when the United States was in the midst of rapid technological change and economic transformation, this coin represents more than just 25 cents. It's a part of a much larger story, and for collectors with a keen eye and a little patience, the 1987 D quarter can hold surprises that raise eyebrows and even open wallets. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which is marked by the small D on the front of the coin to the right of George Washington's ponytail. The mintage was high, with over 655 million of these quarters produced. That's a large number, and at face value, it might seem like this coin is too common to be worth anything more than a quarter, but don't be fooled. Within large mintages often lie rare minting errors and hidden variations that elevate certain coins from pocket change to prized collectibles. One of the main reasons collectors look closely at 1987 D quarters is the growing interest in late 20th century minting errors. This era was not immune to mechanical faults or misaligned dies, and while quality control had improved, mistakes still happened. Some of the most valuable 1987 D quarters have been discovered with off-center strikes. These occur when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the die, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. The more dramatic the off-center error, the more desirable the coin becomes. A 1987 D quarter with a 40% off-center strike, even in circulated condition, could sell for several $100s. There are also reported examples of double die varieties. This happens when the die that strikes the coin has a duplicated image, causing slight but visible doubling in areas like the date, the word liberty, or even Washington's eye or hairline. These kinds of errors can easily go unnoticed by the casual observer, but to collectors, they are gold. Even a subtle double die on a circulated coin could bring in serious interest, especially if it's documented and confirmed. Now let's look at the coin's condition. Being in good condition means it shows clear signs of wear, but most of the main features are still intact. Washington's profile, the date, the D mint mark, and much of the reverse design are all likely still visible, while not mint state. Coins in this condition can still carry value, especially when they come with a rare error or unusual mint feature. And then there's the less talked about but incredibly valuable category of transitional errors. These are coins struck with the wrong metal composition or planchet type. In the case of the 1987 D quarter, collectors are always watching for coins that might have been struck on leftover plankets from other denominations or even foreign coins. A few such quarters have been discovered over the years, and they can sell for thousands depending on their weight, appearance, and how easily the error can be verified. Also worth noting is the growing market for perfectly centered coins with strong strikes from this period. While errors often make headlines, exceptionally well-struck coins with full detail, even in circulated condition, are becoming more desirable. A sharp example of a 1987 D quarter with minimal postment damage and all the design elements crisp and visible could be a standout piece in a collector's set of modern quarters. In addition to technical features, the emotional and historical value of this coin cannot be overlooked. Many collectors today are in their 50s, 60s, or 70s, and they remember using these coins daily in the 1980s. There's something nostalgic about holding a piece of your past, especially one minted in a year you remember well. It might remind someone of their first car, a road trip, or even just the feel of a coin in a pocket before everything became digital. So while this 1987 D Washington quarter might seem like a simple, worn coin, its story is far more compelling. It holds the possibility of being a hidden gem, one of the few that made it through the minting process with a rare twist. And whether it's an off-center strike, a double die, or a transitional planchet, this coin could surprise even seasoned collectors. The value is not just in the metal or the age, but in the chance that this everyday object is far more special than anyone expected. And just when you think you've seen it all, the next coin takes us even deeper into the world of rare finds and unbelievable auction stories. The next coin on our list has shocked collectors with an error so rare it has only been confirmed a few times in history. You'll want to keep watching, because what's coming next might just be one of the most stunning modern coin discoveries ever made. Next up we have the 1989 D Washington quarter dollar. In circulated condition, might not look like anything special at first. It's the kind of coin you might overlook in your change or toss into a coin jar without a second thought. The surface shows signs of wear from years of use, and the luster is long gone. But what if this worn little coin was hiding something rare, something so unexpected it could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right collector? That's the magic of coin collecting, the surprise hiding in plain sight. This particular quarter was minted at the Denver Mint in 1989, a year that saw more than 896 million quarters struck at that facility alone. That massive mintage would usually mean this coin is extremely common, and most of the time, that's true. But among those nearly 1 billion coins, there are always a few with something extra. A misstep in the minting process, an odd planchet, or a die that was just a bit off can turn an ordinary coin into a sought-after treasure. For collectors, the 1989 D quarter is one to keep a close eye on for a number of reasons. First, there are the off-center errors. These are coins that were not properly aligned when struck, causing part of the design to be cut off or shifted. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether key elements like the date or mint mark are still visible, these coins can command anywhere from $50 to over $1,000. A 1989 D quarter with a 50% off-center strike and visible date could easily bring in a high price, especially if it's still intact and undamaged despite its unusual appearance. Another rare but valuable error to look for is a double strike. In some cases, the coin is struck more than once by the die, causing the design to appear doubled, overlapped, or even rotated. These double strike errors are extremely eye-catching and highly collectible. A clearly visible double strike on a 1989 D quarter, even in circulated condition, can be worth several $100s and possibly more depending on the severity of the error. Then there's the possibility of a wrong planchet error. This happens when a coin is struck on a blank, intended for another denomination or even a foreign coin. For example, a quarter struck on a nickel or dime planchet would be noticeably smaller or lighter than normal. These errors are incredibly rare, but when found, they are worth a lot. A 1989 D quarter struck on a wrong planchet has been known to sell for well over $2,000 at auction, especially if it's authenticated by a professional grading service. Even beyond the obvious errors, collectors are beginning to pay more attention to subtle double die varieties. While not officially listed in every guide, There have been reports of 1989 D quarters with light doubling on the lettering or the date. If you see what looks like a shadow or extra outline on the words Liberty or In God We Trust, it could be worth having the coin evaluated. Double dies, particularly from this era, are gaining traction in the market, and values can range from modest to substantial depending on rarity and demand. In circulated condition, like this coin, where is expected, the high points of Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers on the reverse are likely smoothed out. The edges may be soft and some detail may be missing. But if the coin has an error, the condition might not matter as much. Collectors often prize the rarity of the mistake over the wear, especially when the coin tells a unique story. Another aspect of this coin that can't be ignored is its age. While it's not ancient, it's now over 30 years old for many. Collectors, especially those in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, coins like this one are full of memories. They remember using these quarters for payphones, newspaper vending machines, and arcades. This emotional connection adds a layer of meaning and collectability that newer coins simply don't have. So, while this 1989 D quarter may have spent years traveling from hand to hand, its journey might not be over yet. If it carries a hidden error, an overlooked variety, or a rare mistake from the mint, it could be worth far more than anyone ever expected. It's a reminder that even the most ordinary-looking coin can become a surprising discovery with the right knowledge and attention, and just when you think you've seen the possibilities of a single quarter, the next coin we're about to look at changes everything. It features an error so rare and valuable that it shocked collectors when it first appeared, and its value has only climbed since. Stay with us, because what comes next might just be one of the most incredible state quarter surprises in modern history. Next up we have the 1970 D Washington quarter dollar in circulated condition may not catch your eye at first glance. It's been passed from person to person, probably bought coffee, paid a parking meter, or sat in a drawer for years. But even in its worn state, this coin could be hiding something extraordinary. Because when it comes to coins from the 1970s, the truth is clear. Sometimes the most unassuming pieces hold the most shocking secrets. Minted at the Denver Mint in 1970, this quarter is part of a generation of coins that marked the beginning of big changes in U.S. currency. More than 417 million of these quarters were struck that year. With a number like that, you'd expect it to be completely common, and for most of these coins, that's absolutely true, but not all of them. There are some rare surprises among the 1970 D quarters that collectors are constantly hunting for, and one particular variety discovered in recent years sent waves of excitement through the numismatic world. The most jaw-dropping story tied to the 1970 D quarter involves a small number of coins that were mistakenly struck on a silver Canadian quarter planchet from 1941. Yes, that's right, some 1970 D quarters were accidentally made using leftover silver plankets originally meant for Canadian currency. These rare error coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. One such piece, authenticated and verified, sold at auction for over $35,000. The reason is simple. This kind of error is not just rare, it's almost impossible. The planchet was not only silver, but foreign, and how it ended up being used in a U.S. mint remains a mystery that continues to fuel interest and value. Even without the famous silver planchet error, 1970 D quarters can still surprise collectors. Off-center strikes from this year are prized, especially if the date and mint mark are still clearly visible. A dramatic off-center 1970 D quarter may fetch anywhere from a few hundred to well over $1,000, depending on how extreme the strike is and the coin's overall look. Double strikes are another possibility. These errors occur when the coin is struck more than once, creating overlapping or shadowed images that are fascinating to see and incredibly collectible. There have also been reports of 1970 D quarters with die cracks and cuts. A cut happens when part of the die breaks away, causing a raised, blank blob of metal to appear somewhere on the coin's surface. These may seem like damage at first glance, but they are actually valuable mint errors that many collectors pay a premium for. A strong cut or die crack on a 1970D quarter, even in circulated condition, could push its value well into the hundreds. This specific coin, in circulated condition, shows where on Washington's hair, the lead herring, and the eagle. On the back, it may have some dings or smoothing from years of handling, but don't let that discourage you. Even worn coins have a chance to carry rare features. And for some collectors, a circulated coin with a bold error is more interesting than a pristine one without any history. Collectors in the 50 to 75 age range often remember these coins as part of daily life. These were the quarters you used for a Coke from the vending machine, a Sunday newspaper, or an arcade game. The connection to those moments makes finding a rare version even more emotional. You're not just holding a coin, you're holding a piece of your own past and maybe, just maybe, something far more valuable than you imagined. The idea that a regular 1970D quarter could be worth thousands simply because of a hidden minting mistake is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive. You never know when the next unbelievable find will turn up. And sometimes, it's right there in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. And just when you think things couldn't get any more surprising, the next coin in our journey opens the door to one of the most bizarre and rare state quarter errors ever recorded. You won't want to miss what's coming next, because it might just be the kind of coin that turns the world of collecting upside down.